Colonel Alexander J. Bonan's large office overlooked Grosvenor Square. The furniture was a curious collection of oddments. 2 lumpy armchairs from the American Embassy's storeroom smelled of mothballs. His desk and a slab-sided table, loaded with box files, bore the markings of Britain's Ministry of Works. The antique carpet and a Sheraton china cabinet were air-raid salvage that Bonan had bought cheaply in a London sale room. Only the folding chairs, 6 of them stacked tidily behind the door, were American in origin. But it was December 1943, and London was very much at war. The clouds were dark and low over the bare trees of the square. The soft silvery grey barrage balloon wore a crown of white, and there were patches of fresh snow on the grass. But elsewhere the snowflakes died as they reached the ground, and the hut that sheltered the balloon's operating crew was shiny and wet. Smoke from the stove twisted with every gust of wind, and chased the snow flurries. For once there was no sound of aircraft. Little chance of a German air raid today. Nature was providing its own barrage. Colonel Bonan, U.S. Army Air Force, was a tall man in his middle 40s. His uniform was well cut, and he had buffered his appearance against the onset of age by a daily routine of exercise, aided by expensive dentists, hairdressers, masseurs, and tailors. Now, with the same waistline he'd had at college, and nearly as much wavy hair that was only slightly greying, he could have been mistaken for a professional athlete. His visitor was an elderly American civilian, a sober-suited white-haired man with rimless spectacles. He was older than Bonan, a friend and business associate. 20 years before, he had been part owner of a small airline, and Bonan a trained engineer with contacts in the banking world. It was a relationship that permitted him to treat Bonan with the same sardonic amusement with which he'd greeted the overconfident youngster who'd pushed past his secretary 2 decades earlier. "I'm surprised you settled for a colonel's rank, Alex. I thought you'd hold out for a star when they asked you to put on your uniform." Bonan knew it was a joke, but he answered earnestly. "It was a question of what I could contribute. The rank means nothing at all. I would have been content with sergeant's stripes." "So all that business about your expecting a general's star at any moment is just moonshine, huh?" Bonan swung round sharply. His visitor held his stare a moment before winking conspiratorially. "You'd be surprised what you hear in the embassy, Alex, if you wear rubber-soled shoes. Anyone I know there last night?" The old man smiled. Bonan was still the bright-eyed young genius he'd known so long ago. Ambitious, passionate, witty, daring. But climbing. Always climbing. "Just State Department career men, Alex. Not the kind of people you'd give dinner."